So in this video, I'm not going to make like a tutorial, but it's more like an overview of Ultima, which is our latest plugin for about fractals for Unreal Engine 5. And just want to introduce you to different levels and different fractals. So the first thing when you add Ultima to your project is to disable or set output velocities to off in project settings. Search for output velocities and set that to off, because you see the fractal is like shaking. We don't want that, so off, and now it's going to be smooth. And from here, oh yeah, that's perfect, because this flickering doesn't happen all the time, it's completely random. And to get rid of that, you can change the step factor, just refresh. So you can set that back to 0.5, and it's going to go away once you compile and build light. Okay, so it went away. It doesn't happen all the time, it's a bit random. What we recommend when you open up a level is go to the camera and right click and select Pilot Cinema Camera Actor, so you can see the same thing. And from here you can actually go around and explore the fractal, or you can just tweak the fractal parameters. Here you are going to have all different fractal parameters, like the angle, which you can animate, of course, the twists. You can loop and animate. And if you want to get rid of this ugly outline, you can go under Editor Preference, I think, and Outline. Yeah, disable Use Selection Outline. That's way better. Okay, so you have like the chaos parameter. So the chaos parameter is basically, let's say, duplicating the fractal in all directions. So if you want an infinite world, you can just decrease the chaos to 0, and now you have an endless fractal space, which is pretty handy. You can also change the mirror distance, which basically it's the distance between each fractal, like the repetition. I can't say that anyway. This makes sense, okay? And you can also, if you get lost, you can of course reset all parameters by clicking the arrow here. Okay, that's cool. And there's loop parameter. I encourage you to just change the parameters and see what happens until you find something that looks good. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So this one is using the same fractal as before, just different location and different fractal parameter, as well as different colors. So you can change the parameter here as well. Let's say the beta twist. You see how easy it is to make an animation or a loop. It's pretty addicting. Really cool. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Box Pinsky. So this is a variation of a famous fractal, which is a mixed Pinsky. And what is going on now, I have no idea. Anyway, it's a variation of a mixed Pinsky fractal, which is a variation itself of a Menger sponge. And here it's a hybrid actually with a Mandelbox fractal. Let's see through the camera and remove the grid by pressing G. Okay. And let's have a look at a few parameters. So of course you have the twist parameter here as well. It's not going to look that cool like looping in a smooth way, but you can find nice shapes anyway. So this fractal doesn't loop. It's not made for loops. It's just made for like world or environment building. So you can change the different parameters and explore. And you can just go around, tweak the fractal. Like this thing is really cool. Let's see if you can change, if we can get more of that. Oh yeah. And there's a minus radius, which is cool as well. You can also go below the slider value, like 0.3 is the limit. You can go to 0.1 if you want. But you are in unstable zone. As you can see, it's not really rendering correctly. And in case you are rendering this later, so you don't care about real-time performance, you can go down here and set the step factor to like 0.1. This is going to be slower, but as you can see, it's way more stable. So that's pretty cool. And of course, you like the other packs, you can change all the color settings, like the emission. For example, let's change the emission hue. Like all the other packs. So all tutorials from all plugins are the same for this plugin. We try to keep everything basically the same. Now let's move on to the next one. It's another box Pinsky variation. Pretty cool, but nothing new compared to the other level. So let's move to my favorite formula, which is Civita brought. So this is another variation of the famous Mandelbox, but there's many cool shapes for some reason, which looks like a city or a cityscape. It's pretty cool. So you see it's like disappearing when I explore, and this is because the iteration are really low. So you can just change those. Where is that here? 12, let's say 20. And now you can have a stable exploration. But let's see what the camera sees. So right click, pilot, and now you can change whatever parameter you want. This formula has the fold threshold, which are really cool. Also the fold offset, because this parameter produces like a cityscape, a vertical building-alike shape. So it's really fun. And there's also a wave parameter, which is cool. So if you change the wave loop, you see there's like a wave actually. And you can change the direction and the height. And other cool parameters, which, I mean, you don't have to make sense of those parameters because it's just math under the hood. So I encourage you to tweak those and look for cool shape. There are some recurring parameters like the scale, fold, radius in almost all the fractals. So once you got what the smooth does, what the scale does, you can explore and have a bit more control over the fractals. So that's cool to know. Look at this, how cool is that? Then there's a mirror distance as well on this fractal, so you can fill up the entire space if you want. See, there's this thing in the background which gets repeated, and you can get it closer and create like a mirror effect, or just move that away. Really cool. I love this fractal. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is as well Civita brought. Oh, don't save. This is just a variation of the previous one, so it's pretty cool. I love this one as well. So the same fractal parameters, but I love this atmosphere. Anyway, I think we can skip this one and go to the dual bulb, which is a strange fractal because it's like the mandelbulb, but it's a hybrid with itself. So you have two mandelbulbs, one on the other one, and you can create some strange animations. So as you can see, you have the alpha, which is the first mandelbulb, and it's responsible for the main shape. Like if you do this, it's different from doing the beta loop. And basically alpha will change the main shape look, and beta will change like the details. So it's pretty fun. I try to make some colorful emission here, which you can of course change in the emission settings. And of course you can change the hue, the intensity if you want to go crazy, the contrast that basically defines the thickness of the emission outline. Yeah, too crazy. And that's it basically. So let's move to the next one, which is as well another dual bulb, but with my favorite color settings. So which is like gold and white pearl, not pear, pearl, anyway. And let's tweak some fractals parameters here as well. So you could animate this like beta loop like this. Really nice. Beta twist. I love those colors. Let's move on to the next general IFS fractal. So this is really trippy. I love those shapes, really organic. And this one is a bit strange to tweak. We try to simplify that as much as possible, but it's really hard to make it loop if that's what you want to do, because you see the shapes change a lot. And of course you can change the saturation, hue shift, and also the way the colors and the gradients or the textures are mapped. So you can do that by changing the orbit trap method. See, it's always different, and you can fine tune the color offset and the period. So basically all the time, after a bit of tweaking, you can get the look you are looking for. Takes a bit at the beginning, yeah, to get like what is minimum color iteration doing, but you see the more you increase this value, the more in depth the gradient will be stretched, let's say. Anyway, let's move to the next one, which is general IFS 2. So it's the same fractal as before, just a macro shot, lovely one. Then there's Menger Leaf, which can be used for infinite loops. This is really cool. and we see that it's flickering again. Okay, it went away. Anyway, here you can change all the rotation parameters, as you can see. This one is pretty fun for like VJ set or synchronized to the music. You can change the number of repetition because it's the same fractal like repeated in a radial way, and to change that there's a kaleido count, as you can see. So you can set that even to 100 if you want a boring fractal. And this one is really cool for the emission, I think, because down here you can change the offset. It's going to, sometimes it's going to produce some really trippy effects with that emission going on. And then there's another variation in the example levels for Menger Leaf, because you can use it for like VJ loops like this one, but you can also use it for other cases. Like here we try to create I don't know, like a cave, a big structure, and it works really well as well. Okay. Actually, let's try to move around. So you see it's like a tunnel which is repeated both radially but also along the z-axis. Let's disable the fog. Okay, you can see you can extend the bound of it if you want to make an infinite fractal, like 20, and reduce the chaos. So it will go. Oh, can we get rid of this? Okay. See, it's an infinite tunnel. And of course you can change all the different fractal parameters, like the rotation, or if you want a straight structural fractal, don't change the rotation, just tweak those parameters, the other parameters. Anyway, I can get lost while exploring this. And if you want the straight normal version, you can just disable the kaleido count. So set that to 0, and you are going to see a Menger, classical Menger fractal. And of course you can change the mirror distance, so just increase that, and somewhere here you should see the original Menger fractal. Let's move on to the next one, which is Uber IFS. This one was suggested in our Discord group, and it's a really cool fractal. Actually hard to control a bit, but it can be really fun. And it has quite a few parameters actually. So where is that? Come on, okay. Basically there's like a Mandelbox, but on top of that, each shape of the Mandelbox is being replaced by a torus. So a torus, like a cylindrical shape. And you can change the torus radius and other settings. For example, if you set the iteration to 0 or 1, you can see that we only have a torus. Like here it's not really visible, but if you tweak that a bit, let's try iteration to 0. Yeah, here we go. This is like your basic shape, so you can change that. The scale. If you change the scale, you are going to break a bit the distance estimation, so you see this ugly thing. But of course you can change the step factor. Anyway, and So you can change the torus scale, the angle, and how it moves in the space, which is really cool. And then when you add some iterations, like one, it's iterated over the Mandelbox fractal. So when you add like quite a few of iteration, like 10, you see the torus is being distorted in unusual way, which is really fun. Let's just move to the next level because I ruined this level. So yeah, here we go. You see what I mean when I say really cool shapes. So let's tweak the torus radius. See, there's these small cylinders, and it's really fun, but takes a bit to understand how the shape work. There's some metallic going on, so once it's rendered it will look really cool, but in real time you don't get that nice effect because Unreal struggles a bit calculating the reflections. So this level here is best viewed when rendered out. And there's another version here. This is really trippy. So let's pilot the camera, and here you can go on forever if you want. Let's say you want to make an animation like this, and meanwhile you can simply animate, let's say the angle like that, or I don't know, maybe something which doesn't collide with the camera. Yeah, so these are the example levels included in the first version of Ultima, because that's V1. We will for sure update it based on your feedbacks, and hope you like it. And this version doesn't have any Houdini mesh converter like in Essence and in Mecha, our other Fractal plugins. But we definitely spent more time on building cool fractals, so we dedicated our time to that. And oh yeah, I was actually forgetting about this. In materials and from scenes, there's a kaleidoscope effect. It's kaleido material, and to apply that, I'll do a dedicated tutorial for this, but you need to create a new visual effect post-process volume and search for unbound. Yep. And then search for material. So we are going to apply the kaleidoscope material on top of this post-process volume, and just apply this. And boom. You can now animate your kaleidoscope and your fractal in real time just by moving the mouse, or if you want the gamepad around, which is really fun and easy way.